Episode 8, SEP, Love and Sky.
Well, I got to say, there's a lot that I want to say about this episode.
Where do you want to start off?
Well, I was thinking kind of jumping straight into like favourite scenes because I have quite a few and I want to kind of get them out of the way. And that is Lyrical Lily teaching Photon Maiden how to do hymns and that. That was, oh God, perfection, that scene.
Mm-hmm. So what about it exactly tickles your fancy?
I'm just not sure. I think it just all clicks. That's the only way I can describe it.
Okay.
Yes, everything clicks into place, even though that's like not really helpful as to why I like the scene. Although that I do have to mention one little funny moment. Well, a moment I found funny and geeky. It's sort of supposed to be the face SAKI made when she was telling Ibuki like, "Yeah, I'll chop the wood." Just that face. I was like, every time I see it, it's like, yeah, I almost die of laughter.
Nice. I think for me, I don't necessarily have like one standout scene, but
oh yeah, there's like quite a few good ones, but I wanted to kind of bring out some of my personal favorites.
I think mine is kind of along the same line as yours, but it's that the contrast between Photon Maiden teaching Lyrical Lily a couple of things, and then the contrast of that with Lyrical Lily teaching Photon Maiden.
I should have also brought that up as well, but I gotta say my favorite moment was when Noah was kind of giving comments to Karimi.
Yeah.
And like Karimi does a cute figure, and Noah's like, yeah, cute, perfect, and Pascal Tell just comes in and is like, no, teach it right.
Yeah. And I guess that's another good point is the whole emphasis and the focus on cute now from the members of Photon Maiden is just accelerated so much past what we saw in the previous episode.
Although it's primarily just Noah anyway.
It is mostly Noah, but yeah, that it's funny to see that now in such a different context where, you had previously Noah just being very strict and straight down the line and very sort of business wise, where now, it's all complete opposite and it's just all fun for her.
Although it's like, this episode's like, just Noah being Noah, basically. Like, this is what I guess most of the people that are fans of the series as well as / familiar with the series have Noah as being. And there's actually some people that hate Noah for it because it's kind of gotten to the point where it's a little bit too overboard, but at the same time, it's still sort of memey anyway.
Yeah. And I guess it is a pretty clear example of like when someone who is a creative person, when they find something new, I tend to find they really focus on it very strongly for, maybe a month or so. And then like there's a bit of a decline after that. So
that sounds like me when I do most of my projects. It's like, I just dive headstrong into the project, get along to a certain point, and then cut it completely.
Yeah. Well, generally it's not like a hard cut, but
that's like me. It's like, just work on a project, and then just completely stop, and maybe come back and do it. Or in most cases, I actually go back to square one and do all the same things all over again. Get a little bit further, stop.
Yeah.
And then go all the way back to the beginning and start again, get a little bit further than what I did before, and then stop.
Sure. Yeah. Which
is kind of weird because it's like, I don't get anything done. Oh, yeah, because I keep doing everything from scratch again.
So, I thought that whole thing has transitioned well from episode 7 to episode 8.
And looks like episode 9 may be a possible follow-up of it.
Yeah, so there's almost this connection between the 3 episodes so far, which is something new that we haven't fully seen. There's sort of been certain themes reoccurring, but this is like the first one which has really been connected and something that's a bit more specific.
Well, if you look at it, sort of them all have been connected, but not in the way that these two have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at least I should say possibly 3.
Possibly 3.
I have a feeling that episode 9 is going to be kind of an expansion of what was kind of covered in episode 8.
I feel so too, because they've retreated to the training camp and now they got to sort of like return to their regular lives. So it's sort of like, it'll be interesting to see if they take the angle of like, can they keep that same sort of progression that they're going for the characters with their new personalities or new outlooks on life.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Although I just realized we do have one problem. there's only going to be 4 more episodes left of the season. Not unless, probably 5 if they're going to do 13 episode run. I think from what I've heard, it is going to be a 12 episode run, but I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
I'm hoping we do get an extra episode, but that's just me being me.
Yeah. So I guess back to the point that I made of like my favorite scenes, there seemed to be this sort of theme of like mentors, which I'm not sure if you remember, but I think it's something which I theorized in the past where I would like to see one of the older groups like Photon Maiden or Rondo take on one of the younger groups or a new younger group and sort of like in a mentor role.
Well, I guess in terms of, unit age, I'd say Photon Maiden's unit age would probably be around about the same as Happy Around in terms of, when they formed, because they formed around about the same time, if you follow the story of First Mix. Because actually one of the contests, Happy Around before Happy Around became Happy Around was to make a song for the new upcoming unit Photon Maiden. Which they kind of ended up losing.
But yeah, so I guess we sort of get that theme in this one where...
I was about to say, when you mentioned the older units, my mind went to Linux Eyes, and as well as what that used to be before it.
And I guess from that sort of mentorship, you get a look into the different techniques and disciplines that both units have.
That'd definitely be interesting.
In this episode as well, there's also a pretty big emphasis on religious practices as well.
Oh yeah, of course it's going to be with Lyrical Lily being one of the units focused on in the episode.
Yeah, so this is something that I was kind of looking forward to as well. You know, we got a little bit of that in episode 1, where we, the scene of them walking through the school and you see the nuns around, and then there's also the scene where they're singing the hymns. So yeah, I was wondering if we we're going to get a bit more backstory on Lyrical Lily's sort of religious side of things.
I think that may even happen in the next episode.
That's sort of what I'm thinking as well, but we might get to that when we do our episode 9.
I would say this would have been an interesting route for season 2 to go. It was actually more heavily focused on the other 3 units instead of having all 6. Then I guess we probably would have gotten a lot more of that.
That's a good point, I think, yeah. It did a pretty good job of sprinkling it in episode 1 and then sort of following up with some more backstory in episode 8. So I guess I don't really know how they could have, stretched that out even more. And as you said, it kind of seems like we're going to get a little bit more of it in the following episode, episode 9. So I guess we'll see how that goes. I guess on the other side of things, that's sort of Lyrical Lily's background that we get more of. And that's kind of, I guess, in the previous episode, we got a bit more of a background of Photon Maiden. So that kind of evens things out.
My question is, what's going on with SHINO? Because it's kind of, I'm not quite sure what's going on, but that's probably because I haven't been following the stories in game as much as I used to, so there's probably something I've missed. I'm assuming that's the case, but I'd assume that SHINO was kind of taking more of a backseat role and letting Photon Maiden kind of figure out what they want to do next. But I think this episode kind of hammers the point that she may have stepped down from the role, maybe.
I think that's what I mentioned in the previous episode where...
I was not 100% sure, so I didn't want to kind of comment on it and kind of go with what I understand, but I think with this episode, it kind of has the fact in that she may have stepped down from her role.
For me, in episode 7, it seemed pretty clear. So for me, as someone that doesn't play the game and gets all that extra information as just a viewer of the series.
But then also, I'm not well good at dissecting kind of subtle dialogue anyway.
Sure. But yeah, I do sort of agree that it wasn't 100% clear. Because, as you sort of said, like the last time we saw SHINO was her giving blessing to Photon Maiden to sort of go off and experiment with some new stuff in First Mix. But then all we don't see...
Although she does make an appearance in either an end scene or near the end scene of the last episode of First Mix.
I guess my point is that, like, as we see here, she's mentioned, but she's also not mentioned by name. She's just sort of mentioned like the manager has left.
Oh, apparently, as they say, producer, but I guess that's close enough.
Yeah, producer, yeah. But yeah, to me, like when they were in that meeting in episode 7, it seemed pretty clear that they didn't have any management at all, which to me, basically just means that she's left completely, whether it's the company that they're with, the artist management company, or she's just not representing Photon Maiden anymore. That's pretty unclear, but that's what I would say.
Oh, that would be. I was going to say that was awesome, but again, it's just sort of my headcanon at this point is like having Ari step in as the new producer/manager.
Right.
That would be awesome. Well, I guess we got to bring up Saki, and then kind of, I guess this episode is definitely a bit more focused on her out of other members of Photon Maiden and Lyrical Lily. It does, I think, a better job of explaining. I'm not going to even try and pronounce it because I know I'm not going to pronounce it right.
Yeah, so I guess what we saw of Saki in episode 7 was more her helping the rest of the group sort of find their new identities or new ways of life, where this one is definitely much more focused around her not comfortable with her exploration, I guess.
The way I interpret it is that I think she's focused so much on Photon Maiden, she's kind of lost herself in a way and is trying to re-find herself. That's the way I see it.
For sure. That's a good way of putting it. So yeah, it's sort of like there's been so much focus on other people that, she hasn't taken the time to figure out who she is and, or I guess who the new version of her is going to be.
Yeah. Although, actually, I wonder if you know what her DJ name is.
I don't.
DJ Dragon. Next question is, do you know why she calls herself DJ Dragon?
No.
Because she likes dragon fruit.
So yeah, I wonder if when Saki decides, sort of which road she's going to take for a new personality, whether she might decide to change her DJ name as well to reflect.
Oh, that's actually an interesting idea. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but I would like to see where they go with it if they went down that route. Although, actually, one thing we've got to bring up, although I guess there's no real point bringing it up, is the bingo board, because there's nothing really to fill in, and I think for the rest of the season there's probably nothing else we're going to cross out.
Yes, it's pretty safe to say that we don't have to cross anything off the bingo board today.
Shit, I forgot to check the MVP for it's like back behind 2 episodes.
Episode 6
is Maho, of course. The MVP for episode 6 is Maho Akashi.
So who's your MVP for episode 8?
It's going to have to be Saki.
Why is that?
Well, I think just with it being so heavily focused on Saki, I just don't see really any other choice.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, don't get me wrong, I want to give it to Best Girl Toa, but I kind of did vote for her for episode 7, so I don't want to be too biased and vote for her again. Although she absolutely did an amazing job this episode.
Yeah.
So I guess she would be a very close runner-up. But I think just by my arbitrary rules I've set, I can't vote for her again unless there's like a really special reason. So it's going to have to be Saki. She did play a massive role in this episode.
Yes. I was initially thinking Noah, just because the energy she brings to this episode is really a standout. I don't know if it's necessarily the most constructive the entire time. As you
like
saw
the whole
with that.
point, the way they word the MVP is like who did the most in the episode.
Yeah.
Which would obviously be Saki.
So I think if you look at it this way, I'm going to try and sell you on the idea that it's Noah that because...
Oh, I think that's going to be a pretty big hill to climb.
Because Noah has committed so much to her new change, I kind of feel that Saki is now seeing that and is, for lack of a better word, jealous. So it could be that because Noah is so committed to it that now there's that sort of pressure on Saki to put in the work on herself to
You
find...
do make an interesting argument, but I think I'm going to have to stand by my commitments.
Fair enough.
Which, in other words, I'm going to die on this hill.
But definitely for me...
Yeah, that's my favorite pastime is dying on hills.
Yeah, but definitely for me, Saki's a very close second.
My question is, where does Toa come in for you?
Probably a third, to be honest. Yeah.
So then who's fourth? What who's fourth? You just barely not make the podium.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a good question.
I'm trying to think who I'd go. So yeah, I think third would. That's me just playing favourites there. I'd say Haruna, but I think that's more playing favourites at that point, which is sort of breaking the rules I've set myself. But I guess if it's runner up, I guess I can kind of bend the rules a little bit. Just can't do it with my number 1 pick, even though I sort of.
Sure. So episode 9 theories.
Well, I kind of already made it clear what my theory is. It's going to be kind of a follow-up of this episode.
For sure. I am pretty confident on that as well. Thanks for joining us again for this D4DJ All Mix review series. Leave us a comment below on your thoughts of episode 8, Love
as
and
well
Sky.
as your vote for MVP.
Yep. Are you as divided as we are?
When have we... I know we agreed on most of our choice, on most of the MVP picks.
Yeah, mostly have. Let us know your MVP. Let us know your favorite scenes for episode 8 as well. Did we miss anything?
I think we covered all the bases.
Leave us a comment as well as your theories for the upcoming episode 9.
I say we're running out of time, so we're not going to plug our stuff. So I guess see yous.